In Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Friedrich Nietzsche, he writes a series of philosophical speeches from the perspective of an ancient mythical protagonist, Zarathustra. One of which, titled On the Three Metamorphoses, begins as quoted: Of three metamorphoses of the spirit, I tell you, how the spirit becomes a camel, and the camel a lion, and the lion, finally, a child. You see, Nietzsche believed wholeheartedly that the spirit, that entity which embodies the life force of the human being, has a potential to grow and develop over time. The lowest form of the spirit, the camel, is that which is enslaved entirely by the bounds of society. Consequently, Zarathustra compares society to a dragon, whose name is Thou Shalt. This dragon is regarded as a master of the spirit, and its golden scales represent all the value that has ever been created, gleaming and reflecting all those millions of perilous commands that society presents to the spirit. Commands, right? Said that weird. To that regard, the camel is imprisoned by the dragon, forced to do its bidding. Yet one mustn't think of the camel as weak, for it bears all the weight of the dragon, carrying this burden wherever it goes. Indeed, the camel is so enslaved by the dragon that, if the dragon were to ask the camel to walk through its flames, it would do so without question nor query. Camel accepts false truths, loves those who hate it, and does whatever it is told. Yet the weight is too much to bear, and thus the camel marches into the desert, the loneliest and most barren of deserts. Here, Zarathustra declares that the camel becomes the lion. And the lion, with its mighty roar and sharp claws, desires nothing more than to defeat, once and for all, its master, its lord, its god, the dragon. And so to every thou shalt that is reflected off the seemingly invincible scales of the dragon, the lion roars with pride that subtle yet stern and lovely word, no. The lion declares no to duty, no to values, and no to each and every scale, fiery breath, and evil glare of the dragon. Yet, as Zarathustra declares, the lion has not the ability to create new values. No, all the lion can do is fight for the freedom to create new values, but it can't create new ones, right? It can only destroy the old values. It can't create any new ones. It can't create a new structure. It basically can just complain, right? Thus, there is one final metamorphosis. That is, the lion must finally become the child. But why? Why would a mighty, ferocious beast need to become a child? To that regard, I leave you with the words of Zarathustra. Quote, "A child is innocence and forgetting, a new beginning, a game, a self-propelled wheel, a first movement, a sacred yes. For the game of creation, my brothers, a sacred yes is needed. The spirit now wills his own will, and he who has been lost to the world now conquers his own world." End quote. Now, I don't really want to leave you there. This is, of course, a re-recording of episode number 15, which I had someone else read. So, why become the child again? This is a very Buddhist idea in a sense. The child is the person who is curious, right? The whole world is new, the whole world is fresh every day. And because the whole world is fresh and new, that's also because the child is projecting their own creativity upon the world, right? The child is creative. The child is a creator. And by virtue of being a creator, the child sees the whole world as something new every day. He's curious about the world. Curiosity and creativity become one in the same. It is almost, we can almost go to the Jungian thought there, right? That this internal world is a projection of the external world, and the external world a projection of the internal world. The child, as a creator, is, by virtue of that, curious. Whereas the lion, being a rebel, is not curious. They not only, since they hate the world, they also hate themselves. They're destroying themselves, they're destroying the world, and so they can't create new values because all they do is destroy old values. And they can't, any new value that would show up inside their head is immediately destroyed, right? Um, and the camel just follows whatever values it's told to follow, right? Um, and of course, I think this is a spectrum. Obviously, you can be a camel, a lion, and a child all in one day, all in one moment. But um, this is the metamorphosis, right? In Buddhism, enlightenment is being the child in a very real sense. It's being totally open to new ideas, totally at one with your feelings and emotions. The child is here, they're in the now, and ultimately they're the creator. It's this is very reminiscent of the movie Mr. Nobody. In Mr. Nobody, and complete absolute spoiler alert, it's about this child who has to choose between going with his mom or going with his dad, who got a divorce. And the whole movie kind of goes through all the different possibilities of both of those lives, of going with his mom, going with his dad, or not going, just running away in general. And in a very real sense, that child is, in that moment, a god of multiple different worlds, multiple different realities that could all unfold depending on which option he chooses. The child is the god of their own world in the sense that the whole world is open to them. There's endless possibilities of things that they could do, right? And it's not that there are actually endless possibilities, but they can think of endless possibilities. And because they can think of endless possibilities, that opens up a seemingly endless realm of possibilities in this world. That's why the child is the final step in the metamorphosis of spirit. So don't stop being a kid, everyone. And thanks for listening.